Why aren't you living in the house you bought with your late husband? My sister Ruth's question cut through the air of that miserable room like a knife. I was sitting on the edge of a narrow bed, my eye still black, swollen, and throbbing. My son Marcus was standing by the door, blocking the exit. When he heard Ruth's question, his face hardened, his jaw clenched, and his eyes turned to stone. Then he turned to her and said something that froze my blood. That house belongs to my wife now, and if my mother complains, I'll give her another punch that will leave her with a black eye for another month. Welcome to Barbara's Stories. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Now, let's jump back into my story. I'm sure you'll love it if you keep listening till the end. The silence that followed was louder than a scream. My sister Ruth stood motionless, staring at him. I didn't dare breathe. Marcus had that arrogant smirk on his lips, that smile that had terrified me for the last few months, the smile of someone who knows they hold all the power. But as soon as my sister heard those words, she did something that wiped the smile right off my son's face. Ruth took a step forward, just one, but it was enough to make Marcus flinch. "Repeat that," Ruth said, in a voice so cold it gave even me the chills. "Repeat what you just said, but this time say it while I record every word." My name is Etta. I am 65 years old, and that afternoon, in that tiny room I was renting for $400 a month, my liberation began. Although I didn't know it yet. But let me tell you how I got here. How I went from owning my own home to living in a 10 by 10 foot room with damp walls and a window that didn't close right. How my own son, the boy I gave birth to, the boy I gave everything to, became my worst nightmare. It all started 6 months ago. 6 months after we buried Otis, my husband, my partner of 42 years. The man with whom I built everything we had, the house, the memories, our entire life. Otis died of a massive heart attack. One morning he was having breakfast with me, smiling, telling me he wanted to plant new roses in the garden. And by that afternoon, he was gone. He left so quickly, I didn't even have time to say goodbye. I only managed to hold his hand in the hospital while the doctors shook their heads with grave expressions. After the funeral, I was left alone in that house. The house Otis and I bought 30 years ago, back when we were still young and full of dreams. We had paid every single cent with our hard work. Otis was a mechanic. I sewed clothes for the neighbors. Between the two of us, little by little, we scraped together the $20,000 we needed for the down payment, and then we paid the mortgage for 15 years, month after month, never missing a payment. That house was ours. It was mine. Marcus came to visit me every week after his father's death. At first, I thought it was out of filial love, out of concern. He brought his wife, Vanessa, a slender woman with a calculating gaze and a fake smile. She never looked me in the eye when she spoke. She was always checking her phone, sighing with impatience, as if being in my house was an unbearable obligation. "Mama, you can't stay here alone," Marcus would tell me. "This house is too big for you. What if you fall? What if you get sick in the middle of the night and no one hears you?" I would tell him I was fine, that I knew every corner of that house, that Otis's memories were there, that I didn't want to leave. But Marcus insisted, time and time again. Every visit brought the same subject, the same conversation, the same words disguised as concern. "It's for your own good, Mama. You have to think about your safety." Until one day, Vanessa spoke up. It was during a dinner they had prepared in my kitchen. I was sitting at the table watching her move my pots, my pans, as if they were already hers. "Etta," Vanessa said without looking at me, "Marcus and I have been thinking. Why don't you transfer the deed to Marcus's name? That way, if something happens to you, there won't be legal problems, no complicated estate taxes. Everything will stay in the family." I felt a chill run down my spine. Transfer the house? "Just temporarily," Marcus intervened quickly. Too quickly. "Just to protect you, Mama. You would still live here. Nothing would change. But legally, it would be easier for everyone. Something inside me screamed, no, that this was wrong, that Otis would never have wanted this. But Marcus was my son, my only son, and I was tired, so tired, lonely, scared. I missed Otis every second of every day. And when your son looks at you with those pleading eyes, when he tells you he just wants to take care of you, it is hard to say no. I signed the papers 2 weeks later, in the office of a notary that Vanessa had chosen. I was trembling as I held the pen. Marcus squeezed my shoulder. It's for the best, Mama. You'll see. A month later, Marcus arrived at my house with empty boxes. Vanessa was behind him with a smile that finally showed her true intentions. Mama, Marcus said, it's time for you to move. Move where? I didn't understand. I still didn't understand. To a place more appropriate for you. Smaller, easier to maintain. Vanessa started putting my things into the boxes. My photographs, the plates Otis gave me for our anniversary, the curtains I had sewn myself. But this is my house, I whispered. Not anymore, Mama. Now it's ours. The paper you signed says so. I checked with the lawyer. Everything is in order. Legally, this property belongs to me. The floor moved beneath my feet. The walls began to spin. I felt like I was drowning. You said it was temporary. You said I would still live here. Marcus shrugged as if it were nothing, as if he hadn't just destroyed my life. Things changed. Vanessa is pregnant. We need the space. You don't need 3 bedrooms. We already found a room for you. It's comfortable, enough for one person. A room, $400 a month. I'll pay for the first 3 months. After that, you'll have to manage with your Social Security. My Social Security check was $600 a month. $600 that Otis and I had secured after years of labor. If I paid $400 in rent, I would have $200 left for food, medicine, transportation, for everything. Marcus, please, don't do this to me. Don't be dramatic, Mama. It's just a room. There are people living in worse conditions. That afternoon, I packed my life into 4 cardboard boxes. My hands were shaking so much that I dropped the frame holding the photo of Otis and me on our wedding day. The glass shattered. Marcus didn't even turn to look at me. Vanessa walked through the house, touching the walls, measuring the windows, talking on the phone about the colors she wanted to paint each room. The nursery is going to be perfect here, she said, standing in what used to be my sewing room. The place where I had spent thousands of hours sewing, fixing clothes, making prom dresses and bridal gowns. The place where I felt useful, alive. That night, I slept in my bed for the last time. In the bed where Otis and I had slept for decades, where our dreams and fears were born, where we held each other when Marcus had pneumonia as a child, and we thought we would lose him, where we cried together when Otis lost his job and we didn't know how we were going to pay the mortgage. I closed my eyes and saw Otis again, young, strong, with that smile that made me fall in love at 18. I saw him holding a newborn Marcus, with so much love in his eyes that I thought my heart was going to explode with happiness. We're going to give everything to this boy, Otis had told me. Everything we didn't have. Education, opportunities, love. We're going to make sure his life is better than ours. And we did. Lord, how we did. We worked double shifts for years. Otis fixed cars from 6 in the morning until 10 at night. I sewed until my fingers bled. Also, Marcus could go to a good school, so he had new clothes every year, so he never lacked anything. When Marcus turned 15, he wanted an expensive bicycle, one of those imported bikes that cost $400. We didn't have that money. But Otis sold his watch, the only watch his father had left him before dying. He sold it without telling me and came home with the bicycle wrapped in a red bow. "It's for my son," he said simply. "My son deserves the best." Marcus didn't even thank him. He took the bike and went out to show it off to his friends. Otis stood in the doorway watching him leave with that sad smile I knew so well. The smile of a father who gives everything and asks for nothing in return. When Marcus turned 21, he met Vanessa. She came from a family with money. Her father had a real estate business. Her mother wore expensive jewelry and looked down her nose at everyone. The first time they came to our house to meet us, I saw how Vanessa's mother observed every detail: the walls that needed paint, the old furniture, my hands rough from so much work. She didn't say anything, but her disdain was so palpable, you could feel it in the air. Marcus married Vanessa 2 years later. Otis and I paid for half the wedding, $5,000 we had saved to fix the roof of the house. But Marcus was our only son. We wanted him to be happy. We wanted his wedding to be beautiful. Vanessa chose everything: the most expensive venue, the most elaborate dress, ivory color with lace that looked like silk spider webs, exotic flowers that cost $50 a bouquet. I didn't give an opinion on anything. I just paid and smiled for the photos. After the wedding, Marcus changed. Or maybe he had always been like that, and I just didn't want to see it. He started visiting us less. When he came, he spoke only of money, of how difficult it was to maintain the lifestyle Vanessa expected, of how he needed more income. Otis offered him work at his shop, but Marcus laughed. Me? Getting my hands greasy? No, Dad. I studied business administration. I'm not a mechanic. I saw how those words went through Otis like bullets. I saw how his shoulders slumped, how the light in his eyes dimmed a little. Otis had worked with grease under his nails his whole life, so Marcus could have a different life. And now Marcus used that to humiliate him. The last years of Otis's life were quiet. He worked, came home, sat in his chair in front of the television. He didn't smile much anymore. He didn't talk about dreams. One night, shortly before dying, he took my hand. "Etta, promise me something. Anything, love. Promise me you won't let anyone take this house from you. We bought it together. It's yours. It's ours. Promise me you're going to die here, in this house, in peace." I promised him with tears in my eyes. I promised him. And now, packing my things into boxes while Vanessa chose new curtains, I felt I had failed him, that I had failed Otis, that I had betrayed his memory and everything we built together. "Hurry up, Mama! The moving truck arrives in an hour," shouted Marcus from the living room. I put the broken photo of our wedding in the last box and walked out of my house for the last time. The room Marcus got for me was on the second floor of an old, run-down building. The stairs creaked with every step. The hallway smelled of mildew and stale food. When I opened the door for the first time, my heart fell to my feet. 10 by 10 feet. That was it. A twin bed pushed against the wall, a tiny closet with no door, a window that didn't close properly and let in the night chill. The bathroom was down the hall, shared with 5 other people. People I didn't know, people whose names I never learned because nobody talked to anybody in that place. "It's temporary, Mama," Marcus had said when dropping me off. "Just until you get settled, until you find something better." That was 6 months ago. 6 months living in that room. 6 months listening to the screams of the couple next door fighting every night. 6 months smelling the grease and stale frying oil that seeped under my door. 6 months sleeping in a bed that wasn't mine, in a place that would never be my home. The first few days, I called Marcus. I left him messages. I asked if I could visit him, if we could talk. He never answered. When he finally did, he always had an excuse. "I'm busy, Mama. Vanessa isn't feeling well. The baby is coming. I have a lot of work. I just want to see you for a moment. I just want to know how you are. I'll call you later." He never called. I tried to go to the house. My house. I took 2 buses to get to that neighborhood I knew by heart. I got off at the usual corner. I walked down the street where I had lived for 30 years, where I knew every tree, every crack in the sidewalk, every neighbor. But when I arrived in front of the house, I stopped. The curtains were new, mint green. The ones I had sewn were gone. The garden Otis tended with so much love was neglected. The roses he planted were dry, dead, forgotten. I rang the doorbell. No one opened. I rang again. Silence. Then I saw movement behind the window. A shadow. Someone was in there. Someone was watching me, but they didn't open the door. "Marcus!" I shouted. "It's me, your mother! Please, open up!" The curtain moved, but the door remained closed. I stood there for 20 minutes, knocking, calling, pleading. The neighbors started to peek out. Mrs. Higgins, who had been my friend for years, came out to her porch. She looked at me with pity, with shame, and went back inside without saying a word. Finally, I gave up. I walked back to the bus stop with trembling legs and eyes full of tears I refused to shed in public. That night, I received a text message from Marcus. "Don't come back to the house without warning. Vanessa got scared. It's not good for the baby. If you need something, call me first." I called. The phone rang and rang until it went to voicemail. Weeks passed. My pension of $600 evaporated in an instant. $400 for rent, $100 for food, $50 for my blood pressure medicine. The rest disappeared in small expenses that never ended. Soap, toilet paper, bus fare. I stopped eating 3 times a day. 2 meals were enough, sometimes just 1. Grits were cheap. Beans were cheap. I bought day-old bread from the bakery because it cost half price. The vegetables that were starting to turn ugly at the market, they gave them to me almost for free. I lost so much weight that my clothes hung off me. The dresses that used to fit me well now draped over my body like rags. I had to punch new holes in my belt so my pants wouldn't fall down. One afternoon, 2 months after moving into that room, Marcus appeared, without warning. He pounded on the door hard. "Mama, open up!" When I opened it, he entered without greeting me. He looked at the room with disdain. He looked at my old clothes, my skinny body, my trembling hands. "I need you to sign this," he said, pulling some papers from his pocket. "What is it?" "A document, a formality. I need you to officially renounce any claim on the house. Vanessa's lawyer says it's necessary to close everything legally." My hands started to sweat. "But I already signed. I already gave you the house. This is different. This is so there are no problems in the future, so everything is clear, to protect you, too." "Protect me from what? From legal problems? From taxes?" "Sign here." He pointed to a line at the bottom of the document. I took the paper, tried to read it, but the letters danced in front of my eyes. It was written in legal language I didn't understand. Long words, complicated clauses. "I don't understand what it says." "It doesn't matter, just sign. It's for the best for everyone." "I want a lawyer to review it first." Marcus's face changed. His eyes hardened, his jaw tensed. "A lawyer? Now you don't trust me? Your own son?" "It's not that. It's just, you know how much a lawyer costs. You have money to pay for one because I'm not going to give you a single cent for a stranger to review family documents." His voice rose in volume. He moved closer to me. Too close. His breath smelled of coffee and rage. "Sign the paper, Mama." "Marcus, please, give me time. Let me think about it." "There is no time. I need this signed today. The lawyer is waiting for me. Just give me a few days." Then it happened. His hand went up fast, strong. The blow caught me on the left eye. I felt an explosion of pain. I saw white lights. I fell backward, stumbling over the bed. "I told you to sign." His voice sounded distant, distorted. "Why do you always have to be so difficult?" I lay on the floor with my hand covering my eye, feeling it swell, feeling the heat turn into throbbing pulsations of pain. Marcus stood over me with the paper in his hand, waiting. With trembling fingers, I took the pen. I signed. I don't know what I signed. I don't know what I renounced. I only know I signed because I was afraid, because my son had just hit me, and because in that moment I understood that the boy I raised didn't exist anymore. Marcus took the paper, folded it carefully, and put it in his pocket. "Don't tell anyone about this," he said, pointing to my eye. "If anyone asks, tell them you fell. Understood?" I nodded. "Good. I'll call you later." He left the room, slamming the door shut. I stayed on the floor for hours, watching the daylight turn into gloom, feeling my eye swell until it was almost shut, feeling something inside me break definitively. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the bed staring at the wall, touching my eye carefully, wondering how I had gotten here, how my life had turned into this nightmare. And then, 3 weeks later, Ruth arrived. Ruth appeared on a Tuesday afternoon. I wasn't expecting anyone. I never expected anyone. The days passed all the same in that room. I got up when the sun came through the broken window. I ate a little bread with watered-down coffee. I sat on the bed to watch the cracks in the ceiling, counting the hours, waiting for the day to end so I could sleep and forget for a few hours where I was. But that Tuesday, I heard steps in the hallway, determined steps, different from the shuffling steps of the other tenants. Someone knocked on my door. 3 firm knocks. "Etta, are you in there? It's me, Ruth." My sister, my younger sister by 3 years, the last person I expected to see. Ruth lived 2 hours away. She had her own life, her own world. We hadn't spoken in months. I hadn't told her anything. I hadn't told her they had taken my house, that I lived in this hole, that my son had hit me. Shame is a silent poison. It paralyzes you. It makes you believe you deserve everything bad that happens to you. I opened the door slowly. Ruth looked at me, and her face transformed. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth fell open in a gesture of horror. "Lord have mercy, Etta, your face." I touched my eye instinctively. The swelling had gone down a bit, but the purple stain was still there, dark, grotesque, revealing. "I fell," I lied. The words came out automatically, just as Marcus had ordered me. "You didn't fall." Ruth pushed the door open and entered the room. She looked around, the narrow bed, the clothes hanging on nails in the wall because there was no closet, the broken window, the cold linoleum floor. "What is this place? Where is your house?" I couldn't answer. The words got stuck in my throat like stones. "Etta, talk to me. What happened? Where is the house you bought with Otis?" And then I heard other steps in the hallway, steps I knew too well. Marcus had come to bring me the $50 miserable he gave me every 2 weeks, as if it were charity, as if that compensated for everything he had taken from me. He appeared in the doorway with that expression he always wore now, arrogant, cold, calculating. "Mama, here is—" He stopped when he saw Ruth. His face changed. He tensed up. "Aunt Ruth, what a surprise!" "Marcus!" My sister's voice sounded strange, controlled, as if she were containing something dangerous. "Why is your mother living here?" "It's temporary, just until she finds something better." "Something better than the house she bought with her husband? The house where she raised you?" Marcus shrugged. That gesture he used for everything now, as if nothing mattered, as if other people's lives were insignificant. "Circumstances changed." "What circumstances?" "That's none of your business." Ruth took a step toward him. I had never seen my sister like this. Ruth had always been the quiet one, the peacemaker, the one who avoided conflicts. But now there was something different in her eyes, something fierce. "Yes, it is my business. Etta is my sister, and I want to know why she isn't living in the house she bought with her late husband." The question floated in the air, direct, impossible to avoid. Marcus clenched his fists. I saw his knuckles turn white. "Because that house is mine now. She gave it to me. She signed the papers. Everything is legal." "Did she give it to you, or did you take it?" "Watch what you say, Auntie." "Or what? You gonna hit me, too?" The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus froze. I stopped breathing. Ruth looked at both of us, waiting for an answer. "I don't know what you're talking about," Marcus said finally. Her eye. "Marcus, she didn't get that bruise from falling. I know what a fall looks like, and I know exactly what a punch looks like. She's clumsy, she trips, she's old, she's 65. She's not old and she's not clumsy." Marcus let out a bitter laugh, a laugh without humor, a laugh that froze my blood. "You know what? You're right. She didn't fall. I hit her, and I'd do it again if she keeps bothering me." I couldn't believe what I was hearing, that he would admit it like that, so easily, so casually, as if hitting your own mother was something normal. Ruth stood motionless, watching him, processing what she had just heard. "Repeat that," she said. "For what? So you can act scandalized?" "That house belongs to my wife now, Vanessa. I gave it to her because it's mine, and I do what I want with it. And if my mother complains, if she says one more word, I'll give her another punch that will leave her with a black eye for another month." Marcus smiled. That horrible smile that haunted me at night. That smile of someone who believes they are untouchable, who thinks they can do whatever they want without consequences. But then Ruth did something neither of us expected. She pulled her phone from her pocket and held it in front of her. The screen glowed with a small but unmistakable light. "Repeat that," Ruth said with a voice so cold it scared even me. "Repeat what you just said, but this time, say it while I record every word." Marcus's smile vanished. His face went pale. His eyes locked onto the phone as if it were a venomous snake. "What are you doing?" "I'm recording. I already recorded everything you said. How you admitted you hit your mother. How you threatened to hit her again. How you took her house. Everything. You want to add anything else? Please continue." Marcus tried to grab the phone. Ruth took a step back, fast, agile, keeping the phone out of his reach. "Don't you dare," she said. "If you touch me, this goes straight to the police, and then we'll see how brave you are when you have to explain to a judge why you hit a 65-year-old woman. Give me that phone. I am not my mother. I can do what I want. Your mother is not your property. She is a human being, and what you are doing is abuse. It is a crime." Marcus looked at me, waiting for me to say something, waiting for me to defend him, like I had always done, like mothers always do, defending their children even when they have no defense. But this time, I said nothing. For the first time in months, I said nothing. Marcus understood. Something changed in his face. Fear replaced the arrogance. "Aunt Ruth, please. This is a family matter. It doesn't have to leave this room." "It already left. The moment you raised your hand against her, it left the family and entered the criminal." "You're not going to do anything with that video." "No, watch this." Ruth tapped the screen several times, fast, sure, as if she had planned this beforehand. "I just sent a copy to my email and to the cloud and to 2 trusted contacts. If anything happens to me, if anything happens to Etta, if you try to intimidate us, this video goes straight to the authorities. And believe me, judges aren't kind to men who beat elderly women." Marcus's phone rang. Then it rang again. Messages coming in. Someone was calling him, probably Vanessa, asking where he was. "Get out of here," Ruth said. "And don't come near Etta again until I authorize it." "This isn't over." "You're right. It isn't over, but not in the way you think." Marcus looked at me one last time. There was something in his eyes. Hate, fear, regret. I don't know. Maybe I'll never know. He left the room without saying another word. His steps echoed in the hallway, going down the stairs, moving away. When the sound disappeared, my legs gave out. I let myself fall onto the bed. Ruth knelt in front of me. She took my hands in hers. "How long has this been going on?" "Months," I whispered. "Since Otis died." "Why didn't you call me?" "Because I was ashamed. Because I thought it was my fault. Because I didn't want anyone to know that my own son had hit me, that he had taken everything from me." Ruth hugged me tight. Like when we were little girls and the world scared us. Like when our mother died and we only had each other. "None of this is your fault," she said. "Nothing. And we're going to fix it. I promise you. We're going to fix all of this." For the first time in months, I cried. I cried for real. Not that silent crying I did at night so no one would hear me. I cried with sobs that shook my body. I cried for Otis, for the house, for the lost years, for the broken illusion that my son loved me. And Ruth held me. She let me cry on her shoulder until I had no tears left. Ruth stayed with me that night. She slept on the floor on a thin blanket I used in winter. She refused to leave. She said she wasn't going to leave me alone, that I was never going to be alone again. The next morning, she woke up early. I heard her talking on the phone in the hallway. Her voice was low but firm. She was making calls, many calls. When she entered the room, she brought 2 coffees and a sweet roll from the bakery on the corner. "Eat," she said, putting everything on the small table by the window. "You need strength. Today we start fixing your life." "How?" "I know someone, a lawyer. Her name is Alana Mercer. She's good, she's honest, and she owes me a favor. I don't have money to pay for lawyers. Don't worry about that now. Alana owes me her life, literally. 5 years ago, her son had an accident. He needed O-negative blood. I donated. The boy survived. Since then, Alana has told me 1,000 times that if I ever need anything, anything at all, she'll be there." I stayed quiet, chewing the bread slowly. I wasn't hungry, but Ruth looked at me with those eyes that didn't accept no for an answer. "Do you think she can do anything? I signed the papers. It was voluntary. Marcus has legal documents." "Let me tell you something about the law, sister. Just because something is legal on paper doesn't mean it's right. And Alana is an expert at finding the cracks in documents, the fine print, the abusive clauses, the signatures obtained under pressure or deceit." 2 hours later, we were in attorney Alana Mercer's office. It was a small but tidy place. Cream-colored walls, shelves full of thick books with titles I didn't understand, a dark wood desk, and behind the desk, a woman of about 50 with glasses, short hair, and a gaze that seemed to pierce through you to get to the truth. "Etta," Alana said, extending her hand. "Ruth told me a little over the phone, but I need you to tell me everything from the beginning, every detail, no matter how small it seems." And I told her. I told her about Otis, about how we bought the house, about the years of work, about Marcus, about how he changed after his father's death, about the visits, the pressure, the promises, the papers I signed. Alana listened without interrupting. She took notes in a notebook. Occasionally she asked a specific question. "What date was that? Who else was present? Did you read the document before signing? Did they explain what it said?" When I got to the part about the punch, Alana stopped writing. She looked at me intently. "Stand up," she said. I stood up confused. "Turn around slowly." I obeyed. Alana took out her phone and started taking pictures. My eye still purple, the bruises on my arm that I had hidden under my sleeve. The marks on my wrist, where Marcus had grabbed me tight that last time. "This is evidence," Alana said. "Every mark, every bruise is evidence of a serious crime." She sat down again, crossed her hands on the desk. "Etta, what your son did has several legal names: fraud, duress, elder abuse, domestic violence. Each of those crimes carries criminal consequences. But I signed, I accepted. Under what circumstances? Did they explain clearly what you were signing? Did you have independent legal counsel? Did they give you time to think about it? Or did they pressure you? Did they emotionally manipulate you? Did they make you feel guilty? They told me it was to protect me, that nothing would change, that I would still live in my house." "Exactly. That is called fraudulent misrepresentation. They induced you to sign under false pretenses. That invalidates the contract." My heart started beating faster. "Invalidates?" "Potentially, yes. I need to see the documents. Do you have a copy of what you signed?" I shook my head. "It doesn't matter. I can request official copies from the county clerk's office. Give me the exact address of the house." I gave her the address, that address that had been mine for 30 years, that address that still felt like home, even though I didn't live there anymore. Alana typed everything into her computer. Her fingers flew over the keyboard. Then she made several calls. She spoke with people in government offices, at the public records office, at the courthouse. While she worked, Ruth took my hand and squeezed it gently. "See? It started. We're doing something." 3 hours later, Alana printed several documents. She spread them out on the desk. "Here is the deed to your house. The original deed where you and Otis appear as owners. You bought the property 30 years ago for $22,000. You paid off the mortgage 15 years ago. Since then, the house was 100% yours." She moved to another document. And here is the transfer you made to Marcus 6 months ago. It says it is a quit-claim deed, a voluntary donation, that you do it out of filial love, that you expect nothing in return. That was what they told me it said. But look at this clause. Alana pointed to a paragraph full of complicated words. Here it says, you waive any right of habitation, that you waive any future claim on the property, that you accept the transfer is irrevocable and irreversible. I didn't know it said that. I know. And here is your son's legal problem. This document should have been explained by an independent lawyer. You should have had your own legal representation, especially involving a person over 60 transferring their only asset. The law protects seniors precisely to avoid this type of abuse. Alana pulled out another paper. And then there is this. 3 weeks ago, Marcus transferred the property again, this time to his wife's name, Vanessa Vance. Did you know that? What? The house is no longer in Marcus's name. It's in Vanessa's name, which tells me they are preparing for something, probably to protect the asset in case you decide to sue. If the house is in her name, they think it will be harder to recover. I felt the room spinning. Then I lost. It's hers now. I can't do anything. On the contrary, this gives me more ammunition, because now I can argue that there was a premeditated plan of dispossession, that the entire chain of transfers was fraudulent from the start, that the goal was always to strip you of your assets. Alana leaned back in her chair. Etta, I'm going to be honest with you. This case is going to be hard. It's going to take time. It's going to require you to face your son in court, to tell your story in front of a judge, to show your wounds, to admit publicly that your own son hit you and robbed you. I don't know if I can do that. I understand. He's your son, and I know part of you still loves him, still remembers the boy he was. But you need to understand something. That boy doesn't exist anymore. The man who hit you, who took your house, who left you to live in that horrible room. That is not your son. He is a criminal, and criminals must face consequences. Alana opened a new folder and took out more blank documents. If you decide to go ahead, this is what we are going to do. First, we are going to file a civil lawsuit to recover the property. We are going to argue fraud, duress, and elder abuse. Second, we are going to file criminal charges for domestic violence and assault. Third, we are going to request a restraining order so Marcus cannot get near you. And if we lose? If we lose the civil part, at least Marcus will have a criminal record. That will affect his life, his reputation, his job, and Vanessa will probably leave him when she realizes the type of man she married. Alana looked me directly in the eyes. But we are not going to lose, Etta. We have evidence. We have your testimony. We have the photographs of your injuries. We have the video Ruth recorded where Marcus admits hitting you. We have a paper trail showing the systematic stripping of your assets. And we have something else. What do we have? The truth. And in my experience, when it comes to family court judges, especially in cases of elder abuse, the truth carries a lot of weight. Ruth squeezed my hand tighter. Do it, Etta. For you. For Otis. For all the women going through the same thing who are afraid to speak up. I looked at the documents on the desk. Then I looked at Alana. Then at my sister. 2 women I barely knew a few days ago were willing to fight for me, to defend me, to give me what my own son had denied me. Dignity. How long will it take? Months. Maybe a year. Legal processes are slow. But every step we take will weaken Marcus's position. And every day that passes, he will feel more pressure. Okay, I said finally. Let's do it. I want my house back. I want Marcus to face what he did. I want justice. Alana smiled. It was the first time I had seen her smile. Then let's begin. Sign here. This authorizes me to represent you, and this starts the legal process. I signed. This time knowing exactly what I was signing, this time with hope instead of fear. Alana put the documents in a folder with my name. Etta, one more thing. From now on, do not speak to Marcus. Do not answer his calls. Do not agree to meet with him. Any communication has to go through me. Understood? Understood. Good. I'm going to start working on this today. In a week, Marcus will be served with the lawsuit. And then we'll see how brave he is when he has to answer to a judge. We left the office as the sun was going down. Ruth hugged me on the street. You did good, she said. I'm proud of you. For the first time in months, I felt something resembling hope. It wasn't much. It was fragile, small. But it was there, glowing faintly in the middle of the darkness. The following days were different. I was different. Ruth insisted I stay with her, not at her house, because she lived far away, and Alana needed me close for constant meetings with lawyers and witnesses, but she found a small furnished studio apartment 10 minutes from Alana's office. It was simple, clean, safe. It cost $50 a week. Ruth paid the first 3 months. It's not a gift, she told me. It's an investment. When you get your house back, you pay me back. And if you don't want to pay me back, that's fine too. You're my sister. It's the least I can do. I moved that same weekend. 4 cardboard boxes. That was all I had. All that remained of an entire life. But for the first time in months, I had my own bathroom. A small kitchenette. A window that closed tight. Silence. Alana called me Monday morning. Etta, I need us to make a list. I want you to remember everything you can about the house. Improvements you made, repairs you paid for, bills, receipts, photographs, anything that proves that property was yours and Otis's, that you took care of it, that you invested in it. I spent that whole week remembering, writing, searching for the few things I had managed to take from the house before they kicked me out. I found old bills, the receipt from the plumber who fixed the pipes in 2015, $2,000. The bill from the roofer who changed the shingles after the storm, $1,500. The contract from the painter who painted the whole inside of the house when Marcus turned 15, $800. I found photographs. Otis and me planting the orange tree in the garden, Otis repairing the fence, me sewing curtains in the living room, Marcus as a child, smiling, happy, innocent. Every photograph was a dagger in the heart. Alana reviewed everything carefully. She organized every document in binders, scanned every photograph, created a thick, solid, irrefutable file. This is gold, she said. This proves 30 years of emotional and financial investment. No judge is going to ignore this. But Alana needed more. She needed witnesses. Who else knows what happened? Neighbors? Friends? Someone who saw how Marcus treated you? I thought of Mrs. Higgins, my neighbor of so many years, the woman who had closed her door when I knocked asking for help, but also the woman who had seen me grow old, who had seen Marcus grow up, who knew the truth. There is someone, I said, but I don't know if she'll want to talk. Give me her name. I'll handle it. Alana visited Mrs. Higgins that same afternoon. She came back with a signed affidavit. Mrs. Higgins had testified that she saw me the day Marcus kicked me out of the house, that she heard the shouting, that she saw me crying in the street with my boxes, that she felt ashamed for not having done anything. She told me she's sorry, Alana explained, that she was afraid, that Marcus intimidated her, but that now she wants to help, that she will testify if necessary. We also found the doctor who treated me when my eye was in bad shape. I had gone to the neighborhood clinic 2 days after the hit because the swelling wouldn't go down. The doctor had noted in my chart, ocular trauma consistent with closed fist impact. Alana requested a copy of that medical record. This is crucial, she said. It's medical evidence. A professional documented your injury. That carries more weight than 1,000 words. Every piece of the puzzle was falling into place. Every document, every photograph, every testimony. Alana was building a case so solid, I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could win. One afternoon, Alana showed me something new. Look at this. I got the property records. Well, public information on real estate transactions. Do you know how much your house is worth currently? I shook my head. $150,000. The neighborhood has appreciated in the last few years. What you bought for $22,000 is now worth almost 7 times more. I lost my breath. And guess what? Marcus and Vanessa tried to sell the house 2 weeks ago. They put it on the market, $145,000. But when my lawsuit hit the public record, the bank that was going to finance the sale backed out. Now the property has a lis pendens, a pending legal action notice. It cannot be sold until the litigation is resolved. What does that mean? It means they are trapped. They can't sell. They can't pull money out of the house. And every month that passes, they have to keep paying taxes, utilities, maintenance. The house is turning into a burden for them instead of a benefit. Alana smiled. That is the beauty of the law, Etta. You don't need to shout. You don't need violence. You just need patience and strategy. They thought they had won, but we are barely getting started. Ruth was also working in silence. She had contacted old friends from the neighborhood, folks who knew Marcus since he was a boy, people who had seen his transformation. One neighbor told how Marcus had yelled at Otis months before he died right in the middle of the street, calling him a failure, telling him he was tired of his poverty, that he was ashamed of having a mechanic for a father. Another neighbor remembered how Marcus had sold Otis's tools barely a week after the funeral, tools Otis had collected for 40 years. He sold them all for $500. Without asking me, without telling me, every story was another stone on the mountain of evidence. I also started to write. Alana had told me that personal testimony was important, that judges wanted to hear the victim's voice. So I wrote. I wrote about Otis, about our marriage, about the sacrifices we made. I wrote about Marcus as a child, about how we loved him, how we gave him everything. I wrote about the day I signed the papers, the fear I felt, the doubts, the pressure. I wrote about the punch, about the physical pain, but more about the emotional pain, about what it feels like when your own son raises his hand against you, when you realize that the child you raised became a stranger, an enemy. I cried while I wrote, but I kept writing page after page until my story was complete, until every detail was captured on paper. Alana read my testimony and sat in silence for a long time. This is powerful, Etta. Very powerful. We are going to present this to the judge. He's going to read it and understand exactly what kind of man your son is. Weeks passed. I felt stronger. I slept better. I ate better. Ruth came to visit me every couple of days. We cooked together, talked, laughed like when we were young. One night, Ruth brought me something, a small box wrapped in paper. Open it. Inside was a new cell phone. So you can call me whenever you want. So you are connected. So you don't feel alone. She taught me how to use it, how to send text messages, how to take pictures, how to record videos. It was strange at first. My fingers were clumsy with the buttons. But little by little I learned. And then I used that phone for something important. I started documenting everything. Every meeting with Alana, every new document, every conversation, just in case, for safety. Alana called me on a Friday afternoon. Etta, I have news. Marcus was served with the lawsuit yesterday, and an hour ago his lawyer called me. My heart raced. What did he say? They want to negotiate. They say it was all a misunderstanding. They are willing to reach an agreement. What kind of agreement? I don't know yet. We have a meeting scheduled for next week. But Etta, listen to me carefully. Do not accept anything that is not the complete return of your house. Nothing. Understood. Understood. I hung up the phone. I sat by the window. I watched the street, people walking, living their lives unaware of my battle. Marcus wanted to negotiate. That meant he was afraid, that he knew he could lose, that he finally understood I wasn't the weak woman he thought I was. I smiled. For the first time in months, I smiled for real. The war was just beginning, but I was no longer a victim. I was a fighter, and I wasn't going to stop until I recovered what was mine. The meeting was scheduled for Tuesday at 10 in the morning at Alana's office. She had prepped me for days. Don't speak unless I tell you to. Don't respond to provocations. Don't let yourself be manipulated. Remember, they are going to try to make you feel guilty. They are going to play the family card, maternal love, memories. Don't fall for it. I arrived 30 minutes early. Ruth came with me. Alana was already there reviewing documents, preparing her strategy. "Ready?" she asked me. "Ready." At 10 o'clock sharp, there was a knock on the door. Alana opened it. Marcus entered. Behind him, Vanessa, and a man in a gray suit who introduced himself as their lawyer, Mr. Sterling. Marcus looked at me. I held his gaze. I didn't lower my eyes. I didn't tremble. I didn't hide. I looked directly at him, like looking at a stranger, because that's what he was, a stranger. Vanessa looked nervous. She wore a cream-colored dress and expensive shoes. Her hair was perfectly styled, but her hands were shaking. She kept twisting a gold bracelet on her wrist. We sat around the table, Alana on one side, Mr. Sterling on the other, Marcus and Vanessa together, Ruth and I facing them. The silence was thick, heavy. No one wanted to speak first. Finally, Mr. Sterling cleared his throat. "Well, we are here to find a friendly solution to this unfortunate misunderstanding." "It isn't a misunderstanding," Alana interrupted. "It is fraud. It is dispossession. It is domestic violence. Let's call things by their name." "Those are very strong terms." "They are the correct terms. I have evidence of everything. Photographs of injuries, testimonies, medical documents, a video where your client admits to hitting his mother." Sterling's face went pale. He looked at Marcus with reproach. Marcus looked at the table, avoiding everyone's eyes. "My client is willing to rectify, to find a fair arrangement." "What kind of arrangement?" Alana asked. Sterling pulled a paper from his briefcase. "They are willing to pay financial compensation to Mrs. Etta Vance, $50,000, in exchange for her withdrawing the lawsuit and signing a document waiving any future claim on the property." Alana let out a dry laugh. $50,000? The house is worth $150,000, and you want to buy my client's silence for a third of the value? That is an insult. It is a generous offer, considering the circumstances. What circumstances? The circumstances where your client hit a 65-year-old woman? The circumstances where he committed fraud? Sterling shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Look, Attorney Mercer, we all know litigation is long, expensive, draining. My client is trying to spare his mother that suffering." "How considerate," Alana said with sarcasm. "After having beaten her and left her homeless, now he worries about her suffering." Marcus finally spoke. His voice sounded hoarse, forced. "Mama, please. It doesn't have to be like this. We can fix this between us. We're family." I looked at him. I said nothing. "Mama, I'm offering you money, $50,000. You can buy yourself a small apartment, live comfortably, without worries." Silence. "Say something, please." Alana touched my arm gently, a signal that I could speak if I wanted to, but I didn't want to. There was nothing to say. Marcus's words were hollow, empty, false. Vanessa intervened. Her voice was high-pitched, desperate. "Etta, please, I'm pregnant. We need that house for our baby. For your grandson. Don't you want your grandson to have a home?" I looked at her. I saw the fear in her eyes, the calculation, the manipulation. "My grandson can have a home," I said finally. "But not in my house. Not in the house I bought with my husband. Not in the house you stole from me." "We didn't steal anything from you," Marcus exploded. "You gave it to us. You signed. You accepted. You tricked me. You lied to me. You hit me. That was an accident. I lost control. I'm sorry." "An accident? You said you would do it again. You said it in front of Ruth. It was recorded." Marcus stood up abruptly. His chair fell backward with a crash. "That video was a trap. I didn't know I was being recorded." "Exactly," Alana said calmly. "You didn't know. That's why you told the truth. That's why you admitted what you did. Because you thought there would be no consequences." Mr. Sterling put a hand on Marcus's shoulder, forcing him to sit. "Calm down. This isn't helping." Marcus was breathing heavily. His hands formed fists on the table. Vanessa started to cry, calculated tears running down her perfectly made-up cheeks. "Please, Etta, think of the baby. He's your grandson, your blood." I thought of Marcus when he was a baby. I said, I gave everything. I sacrificed everything for him, and look how he pays me back. Why should I believe your son will be any different? Because we are going to raise him right. We are going to teach him values, respect. Respect? Like the respect Marcus shows me? Vanessa had no answer for that. Alana took control of the meeting again. Gentlemen, my client is not interested in money. She is interested in justice. She wants her house back, and she wants Marcus to face the legal consequences of his actions. That is revenge, not justice, Sterling said. Call it what you want. Those are our terms. The house reverts to Etta's name. Marcus and Vanessa have 30 days to vacate. And we drop the criminal charges. And if we don't accept, then we see you in court. And believe me, with the evidence I have, your client isn't just going to lose the house. He is going to have a criminal record. He is going to pay fines, possibly jail time. Sterling's face hardened. I need to consult with my clients in private. Alana pointed to a small office in the back. Go ahead. You have 15 minutes. The three of them got up and locked themselves in the office. I could hear raised voices, arguments, Vanessa screaming, Marcus responding with fury, Sterling trying to calm them down. Ruth squeezed my hand. You're doing perfectly, she whispered. I'm scared. I know. But you are stronger than your fear. 20 minutes passed. Finally, they came out. Marcus had a red face. Vanessa was still crying. Sterling looked defeated. My client rejects the terms, Sterling said dryly. We will see you in court. Alana nodded. As you wish. Expect the judge's summons in the next few weeks. Marcus walked toward the door, but before leaving, he turned to me. This doesn't end here, Mama. You're going to regret this. I already regretted it, I replied. I regretted signing those papers, regretted trusting you, regretted believing you were still my son, but I am not going to regret anything else anymore, because now I am doing the right thing. Marcus clenched his jaw. He wanted to say something else, but Sterling pulled him by the arm. Let's go. The three of them left. The door closed behind them. Silence filled the office. Alana smiled. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. They rejected the deal. Isn't that bad? No, it means they are desperate, but proud. It's the worst combination. They are going to make mistakes. What happens now? We wait. The trial is scheduled for 6 weeks from now. In that time, they are going to try to contact you. They will send messages, calls, maybe show up at your place. Do not answer. Do not speak to them. Anything they say, report it to me immediately. That night, as Alana had predicted, the messages started. The first one arrived at 11 at night, from Marcus. Mama, please, let's talk. No lawyers, just you and me. I didn't answer. At 1 a.m, another message, from Vanessa this time. Etta, I beg you, think of your grandson. Don't do this to your own family. I didn't answer. The next day, more messages, promises, pleas, threats disguised as concern. If you go on with this, you're going to destroy your family. You're never going to meet your grandson. Dad would be disappointed in you. That last phrase hurt me. It hurt deeply. But I didn't answer. I sent screenshots of all the messages to Alana. Keep them, she told me. All this is evidence of harassment. We're going to present it to the judge. Marcus appeared one night at my building. He knocked on the door, shouted my name from the hallway. Neighbors came out to look. Someone threatened to call the police. Marcus left. Alana requested a restraining order the next day. The judge approved it. Marcus couldn't come within 100 yards of me. If he did, he would go to jail immediately. The messages stopped. The calls ceased. Silence. But I knew it wasn't over. This was just the beginning. The storm before the calm, or the calm before the storm. It didn't matter. I was ready. Ready for whatever came. The day of the trial arrived 6 weeks later. It was a gray Wednesday. The sky threatened rain. Ruth accompanied me. Alana arrived with 3 huge binders full of documents. Nervous? Ruth asked me in the car. Terrified, I admitted. It's normal. But remember, The truth is on your side. The courthouse was an old building with long hallways and an echo in every step. It smelled of old paper and disinfectant. There were people waiting on wooden benches, lawyers walking hurriedly, families whispering in corners. I saw Marcus and Vanessa sitting on the other side of the hallway. He wore a dark suit. She wore a gray dress, her belly prominent now. 7 months pregnant. They looked at me when I passed. I didn't return their gaze. We entered the courtroom. The judge was a man of about 60 with thick glasses and a serious expression. His name was Judge Harrison, according to the plaque on his desk. "Good morning," he said with a grave voice. "We are here for the case of Etta Vance versus Marcus Vance. Lawsuit for fraud, dispossession, and domestic violence. Are both parties present?" "Yes, Your Honor," replied Alana. "Yes, Your Honor," repeated Mr. Sterling. "Let us proceed. Attorney Mercer, present your case." Alana stood up. She spoke for 40 minutes. She explained every detail. How Otis and I bought the house. How we paid for it over 15 years. How Marcus manipulated me after his father's death. How he made me sign papers without explaining their real content. How he kicked me out of my own house. She presented the photographs of my black eye, the medical documents, Mrs. Higgins' testimony, the bills that proved my investment in the property over 3 decades, and then she presented the video Ruth had recorded, where Marcus admitted hitting me, where he threatened to do it again. The room went silent when the video ended. The judge watched the screen with a furrowed brow. He wrote notes in his notebook. Marcus had his head down. Vanessa was wiping tears with a handkerchief. "Anything else, counselor?" asked the judge. "Yes, Your Honor. I want to submit the harassment messages my client received after rejecting the out-of-court settlement. 23 messages in 1 week, attempts at emotional manipulation, veiled threats, and an unauthorized visit to my client's residence, violating her space and peace of mind." Alana handed over the printed screenshots. The judge reviewed them one by one. His expression hardened with every page. "Mr. Sterling, your turn." Sterling stood up. He looked less confident than in the office meeting. He tried to argue that everything had been voluntary, that I had signed the papers of my own decision, that Marcus never intended to harm me, that the punch was a moment of lost control, an exception, a mistake. My client is willing to financially compensate his mother, to ensure her well-being. He is a good son who made mistakes, but who wants to amend them. The judge interrupted him. "A good son, counselor? I have heard many cases in my career, but this is among the worst I have seen. A son who beats his mother, who strips her of her assets, who leaves her to live in miserable conditions while he enjoys the house she built. And you tell me he is a good son?" Sterling stayed silent. "Does your client wish to testify?" Sterling looked at Marcus. Marcus nodded slightly. He stood up. "Your Honor, I didn't want things to get to this. I love my mother. I have always loved her. I just wanted to protect my interests, secure my family's future." "Protect your interests at your mother's expense?" asked the judge dryly. "It was a mistake. I recognize it. But I can fix it. I can compensate her with money." "Do you think money erases what you did?" Marcus didn't answer. "Sit down." The judge reviewed his notes for what seemed like an eternity. The clock on the wall marked the seconds with a tick-tock that echoed in my ears. Finally, he spoke. "I have reviewed all the evidence presented, and my decision is as follows. The transfer of the property executed by Mrs. Etta Vance in favor of Marcus Vance is declared null and void. It was obtained through deceit, manipulation, and taking advantage of the vulnerability of an elderly person. The property reverts immediately to the name of Etta Vance. Marcus Vance and Vanessa Vance have 15 days to vacate the dwelling. Any asset that does not belong to them must be returned intact." Vanessa let out a moan. Marcus sat motionless like a statue. "Furthermore," continued the judge, "I find Marcus Vance guilty of domestic violence. He is sentenced to 6 months in prison, suspended sentence. This means if he complies with the following conditions, he will not go to jail. 1. Mandatory psychological therapy for 1 year. 2. Community service for 200 hours. 3. Permanent restraining order. He cannot approach his mother unless she authorizes it in writing. The judge banged the gavel on the desk. Case closed. I don't remember how I left that room. I only remember Ruth hugging me, Alana smiling, my legs trembling so much I could barely walk. Outside the courtroom, I saw Marcus and Vanessa arguing. Their voices rose. She blamed him. He defended himself. It was an ugly fight, public, humiliating. Several acquaintances from the neighborhood were there, neighbors who had come to witness the trial. Mrs. Higgins, the owner of the bakery, the lady from the market. Everyone had heard the verdict. The news traveled fast, in the neighborhood, at church, at the market. Everyone knew what Marcus had done, how he had treated his own mother, how he had hit her, how he had stolen her house. His reputation was destroyed in days. People pointed at him in the street. Mothers pulled their children away when he passed. His name became synonymous with shame. Vanessa filed for divorce a week later, not out of moral indignation, but because the scandal affected her family. Her father, the businessman, didn't want to be associated with a criminal, with someone who beat the elderly. Marcus lost his job. His boss found out about the case and fired him. They didn't want employees with a history of domestic violence. It was bad for the company's image. Alana kept me informed of every development, not because I asked, but because she believed I had the right to know. Vanessa moved back in with her parents, she told me one day. Marcus is staying with a friend. He's looking for work, but no one is hiring him. His life completely fell apart. I expected to feel satisfaction, joy, revenge fulfilled, but I only felt emptiness. That emptiness left by broken things that will never be fixed. Are you okay? Alana asked. I don't know. I won. I got my house back. He is paying for what he did, but I don't feel good. It's normal. He is your son. Part of you still loves him, still remembers what he was, what he could have been. It passes with time. The pain passes. It never disappears completely, but it becomes smaller, more manageable. 15 days after the trial, I went to the house. My house. Alana accompanied me. We had the new keys. The locks had been changed by court order. The door opened with a familiar creak. I entered slowly. The house smelled different, like Vanessa's perfume, like strangers. But the walls were the same. The floor was the same. The memories were still there, hidden in every corner. I walked through every room. The kitchen where Otis had breakfast every morning. The living room where Marcus played as a boy. Our bedroom where Otis died in my arms almost a year ago. Everything was different, but the same. New furniture, new colors, but the essence remained. I sat on the floor of the living room, hugged my knees, and finally cried. I cried for everything, for Otis, for Marcus, for the lost years, for the family we would never be again. Alana sat beside me. She said nothing, just stayed there, present, silent, supportive. When I finished crying, I dried my tears. Thank you, I told her, for everything. Don't thank me. You did the hard work. You were brave. You fought. I just accompanied you. And now what? Now you live. You rebuild. You start over. I looked around. My house, my home, empty, but mine. Broken, but recoverable. Yes, I said. Now I start over. 3 months passed before I moved definitively into the house. I needed time to clean, to paint, to erase the traces of Marcus and Vanessa, to make it mine again. Ruth helped me. We painted the walls white, a clean white that seemed to erase the past. We changed the curtains. We bought simple furniture at thrift stores. I didn't need luxury. I just needed every object to be chosen by me. I planted roses in the garden, the same roses Otis had planted and that Marcus let die. I planted them in the same place, like a symbol, like a promise that what is dead can live again. One afternoon, Alana came to visit me. She brought papers. "This is yours," she said, handing me an envelope. "Marcus finally sold some things to pay the restitution the judge ordered. $10,000 for damages. It's yours." I looked at the check. $10,000. It wasn't much compared to what I had lost, but it was something. It was acknowledgement. It was justice. Thank you, Alana, for everything. You don't owe me anything. You already paid my fees. This is yours. Use it well. With that money, I did something I had always wanted, something Otis had asked me to do, but I never dared. I learned to drive. I was 65 years old. Most people learn at 16 or 18, but I never had the chance, never had the time, never had the courage. Now I had it all. I hired an instructor, a patient man named Mr. Coburn, who didn't make fun of me when I confused the gas pedal with the brake, who didn't shout when I braked too hard, who celebrated every small achievement as if it were huge. After 2 months, I passed the test, I got my license, and I bought a used car, a small car, silver color, with a few scratches, but functional. It was mine. The first time I drove alone was a Saturday morning. I put my hands on the wheel. I breathed deep. I started the engine and drove. I drove through the neighborhood, through the streets I knew by heart. I passed in front of the bakery, in front of the market, in front of the church where I married Otis more than 40 years ago. And I kept driving. I left the neighborhood. I took the highway. I didn't know where I was going. It didn't matter. It only mattered that I was going, that I was moving, that I was alive. I arrived at a lake about an hour from the city, a lake Otis had taken me to when we were young, when we still dreamed of the future, when everything seemed possible. I sat on the shore. I looked at the water, so calm, so clear, so infinite. I took out of my purse something I had kept for months, the last photographs of Marcus, the photos from when he was a boy, when he smiled, when he hugged me, when he told me, "I love you, Mama," without ulterior motives. I looked at them one by one. I let the tears fall. I let the pain out, and then I put them away again. I didn't burn them. I didn't destroy them. Because that boy existed. That love was real, and it deserved to be remembered, even if the man he became was unrecognizable. But I closed that chapter. I put it in a deep drawer of my heart, and I decided to move forward. I went back home at sunset. The house was illuminated by the golden light of the sun. It looked warm, cozy, mine. I entered. I made coffee. I sat in the living room, and for the first time in more than a year, I felt peace. Not a perfect peace. There was still pain. There were still nights where I couldn't sleep, where I missed Otis so much my chest hurt, where I wondered what went wrong with Marcus. But there was something new. There was strength. There was dignity. There was the certainty that I had done the right thing, that I had defended myself, that I hadn't stayed silent. I started going out more, visiting Ruth, meeting with Mrs. Higgins for tea, going to church on Sundays, living. One afternoon, while I was watering the roses in the garden, I heard a car stop in front of my house. It was a taxi. From the taxi, a young woman got out with a baby in her arms. Vanessa. My heart raced. I hadn't seen her since the trial. She looked different, thinner, more tired. The baby was just a few days old. She walked toward me slowly, as if she were afraid I would chase her away. "Etta," she said with a trembling voice, I just wanted you to meet your grandson. His name is Otis, like his grandfather." I looked at the baby. He had his eyes closed, sleeping peacefully in his mother's arms. He was tiny, innocent, pure. "Does Marcus know you're here?" I asked. "No. We separated. The divorce was finalized last week. I wanted to ask your forgiveness for everything, for having been part of what they did to you, for not stopping Marcus, for my silence." I looked at her. I saw genuine regret in her eyes. Or maybe I just saw what I wanted to see. "I can't forgive yet," I said honestly. "Maybe someday, but not today." She nodded. Tears ran down her cheeks. "I understand. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry, and that if someday you want to know Otis, your grandson, I'll be willing. No conditions, no pressure." She turned to leave, but I stopped her. Vanessa. She turned back. Take good care of him. Don't let him become what his father became. Teach him to respect, to value, to love for real. I will. I promise you. She left. The taxi disappeared down the street. I stayed in the garden with my hands full of dirt, watching the sky start to darken. Maybe someday I would know my grandson. Maybe someday I could build something with him, something new, something healthy. But today, in this moment, I was fine like this. I was fine alone. I was fine being simply Etta, not Marcus's mother, not Otis's wife, just Etta, a 65-year-old woman who had survived betrayal, who had fought for her dignity, who had recovered her home, who had learned to drive, who had learned to live again. I went into the house, closed the door, and smiled. Because finally, after everything, I was home. I was free. I'm really glad you're here and that I could share my story with you. If you liked it, show me by liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Let's see how many of us there are. Write in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is. I'm so curious to know where all you wonderful people are tuning in from. If you want to support me a little extra, you can also send a small donation. I share new life stories for you every single day. And now, 2 of my most popular stories will pop up on the screen so you can choose what to watch next.